Hey everybody, Mrs. Drossett here. Today we're going to be looking at how to complete the square to get an equation into standard form. So what we have right here, this is called general form of a quadratic. So we want to get this into standard form. Our standard form for a circle is going to be this x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So when we look at this, we can see we have to get x minus some value squared plus y minus some value squared equals r squared. So any number that is just a constant, that's always going to have to start off by going to the right. So to work with this equation, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 11 to both sides. So now I'm going to have x squared. The other thing I want to do is I want to group any x's together. So I just used the x squared. So now I'm going to put the negative 14x by it. I'm going to leave a little space here so that I can complete the square. Now I'm going to go to my y term. Here's y squared. I'm going to put plus y squared. And then I'm going to use my other y term of plus 4y. And again, we're going to leave a little space here. And that's equal to 11. All right, before we go any further, let's make sure this makes sense. So let's make sure we haven't changed this in any way. We have x squared minus 14x that we reordered, plus we're going to fill in this blank. Then we're going to have plus y squared plus 4y, and then the 11 went over here. So everything's taken care of. You want to double check that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to complete the square. To make this so it's a perfect square trinomial, I have to take half of this and square it. We did this earlier in the year. We completed the square to solve equations, but this is going to be a little bit different. So to complete the square, right here, you're going to take half of b and square it. So right here, this is going to be the b value with the x squared minus 14x. This would be the a. So if I take half of this, half of negative 14 is going to be negative 7. And if I square negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. So I'm going to add 49 here. But if I add 49 here, I also must add 49 here to keep my equation the same. I got to keep it equivalent. It's still equivalent to what I started with. Now I'm going to complete the square for the y's. So I'm going to take half of this term. This would be the b value. That's the first term. Here's my second term. So half of 4 is going to be 2. Square it is 4. I'm going to add 4 here, but I also have to add 4 here because I got to keep it equivalent. Now make sure it's still equivalent to what we started with. X squared minus 14x. We added 49 here, but we did here too. We have y squared plus 4y. We added 4 here, but we added 4 here. So it's still equivalent to what we started with. We're going to look at these 3 right here, and we want to factor them. So to factor these, I set up my double parentheses. I've got my x and my x. What are numbers that multiply to be 49 and add to be 14? That's going to be 7 and 7. I need to get subtraction. I need to get negative 14. So both of these need to be negative. I'm going to do the same thing here on my y's. So I'm going to have plus, I'm going to set up my double parentheses. I'm looking at this first, y and y. What numbers multiply to be 4? 2 and 2. I need them to multiply to be 4 and add to be positive 4. So I need a plus and a plus equals, and I'm going to compute this. 11 plus 49 is 60, plus 4 is 64. Okay? Now I'm thinking, what is x minus 7 times x minus 7? Well, that's just x minus 7 quantity squared, plus I have y plus 2 times y plus 2, so that's y plus 2 quantity squared equals 64. This right here is the same as that equation. Let's say you feel like, oh, I'm not sure I did that right. Well, let's go to Desmos and let's check it out. Watch how you can check this. If I want to see if this is the same, these two equations are exactly the same, I'm going to go to my graphing calculator. I'm going to type these in. So my original was x squared plus, or sorry, minus minus 14x. I want to put in my original, sorry. Let's go back here. X squared plus y squared. And then minus 14x, and then plus 4y, and then minus 11 equals 0. Okay, and so this is what I get, this circle. Okay, now we changed it a lot, didn't we? So now we changed it to x minus 7 quantity squared plus y plus 2 quantity squared equals 64. And look, do you see how it's exactly the same circle? So these are equivalent equations right here. So all we did is we took this equation and we wrote it in a different form so that we can now see, without having to use Desmos, what's our center, what's our radius, etc. So the center now of this circle is going to be at 7, negative 2. The radius is going to be 8. I want to also find my 4 other points. So if I go 7 to the right, I would, 8 units to the right of 7 is going to give me 15, negative 2. That would be one of the points on the circle. My other point on the circle, let's go to the left 8 from the 7, negative 1, negative 2. Now the 7's going to stay the same, and I'm going to go up 8. So that's going to change my y value if I go up 8. And finally, that 7's going to stay the same, and I'm going to go down 8. Okay, see, these are my 4 points that I get when I graph this circle. Now, let's say I'm not sure that those points are right. Well, let's hop back here to Desmos. We already have these. Let's check these points. There's 7, 6. We got that one. Where's the next one? Right here. We've got 15, negative 2. We had that one. This is our other one. Negative 1, negative 2. That one's good. And then the bottom one here was 7, negative 10. So we have them. All right, so just using that. Now, I'm not saying you should use Desmos on every problem. It just takes too long. But it is a nice way to check. Now, this problem, I am going to skip this step right here. And we're going to go directly from here to here. Look at the pattern. Take the square root, use this sign, and take the square root. To go from here to here and skip this step, take the square root, use the first sign, and take the square root. That's the fast way to do it. All right, so let's get it in order. We got x squared minus 12x, leave the blank, plus y squared minus 8y plus, leave the blank. Take the 27 over, and it's negative 27. All right, I have to fill in the blank. I want to make this so it's a perfect square trinomial. I take half of this value, so half of negative 12 is negative 6, squared is 36. I have to add it here, and I have to add it here to keep it balanced. I'm going to have to take half of 8. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to add 16 here and add 16 here. Now I want to factor this, and I want to factor this. So remember the shortcut. I'm going to do the square root, the first sign, and the square root. That saves me from having to write all this out. I just did that so you would understand why it works. Now I have to do the square root, the first sign, and the square root. And now I have to combine all of these. Well, let's see, 36 and 16 is 52. 52 minus 27 is, 52 minus 27 is 25, right? So we got 25 there. So now our center is going to be at 6, 4. Our radius is going to be 5. Okay, let's find those other key points. Those key points if we go up, down, right, and left. So if I go to, let's go right first. If I go right first, 6 plus 5 is 11. Y stays the same. If I go left, then I subtract 5 from the 6. Y stays the same. Go up 5, x stays the same. Add 5. And then finally, x stays the same. Go down 5. And there we go. Okay? Not too bad, right? Okay, let's do some other problems here. Let's get this light back on there. There we go. Okay, find the equation in standard form with center of 3, negative 2 and containing the point 5, negative 6. Maybe pause the video and try this on your own. See if you can do it. If you need help, let's go together. So here's our formula for a circle. X minus h squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So we have the center of hk, and I have a point, xy. So I'm just going to plug in all of this, and that's going to allow me to solve for r. So I'm going to plug in 5 for x, h is 3. I'm going to plug in -6 for y, and minus -2 would be plus 2 squared equals r squared. So now I've got 2 squared is 4, -4 squared is 16, so there's r squared. I really don't even care what r is, because in my equation for a circle, I need r squared anyway. 4 plus 16 is 20. So then the equation of my circle is x minus h, quantity squared, plus y minus -2, quantity squared, equals r squared. Okay, not bad at all, right? All right, write the equation of the circle in standard form with center of 4, -2, and tangent to the x-axis. You gotta know what tangent means. Tangent means that it's going to touch that axis at exactly 1 point. Okay? I need a picture. I think it helps to have a picture to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So here's our center, and we have to be tangent to the x-axis. Here's the x-axis, here's the y-axis. Tangent to that axis means that it's just going to touch that axis, just like that. Not exactly, just at that 1 point right there. What that allows us to see is, how far is this? How far is it from that center up to there, up to that x-axis? Well, that's going to tell us that our radius is 2. Well, once we know the center and the radius, we can write the equation in circle. X minus 4, quantity squared, plus y minus -2, quantity squared, equals, is it 2 or 4? It's 4, isn't it? Because it has to be the radius squared. All right, very good. Let's try this one. This is going to be a little tougher. Write the equation in the circle with circumference of 10 pi, which passes through the points 1, 0, and 1, -6. All right, let's think about this. Do you guys know the formula for circumference? It's pi times diameter. So if pi times the diameter is the circumference, what's that make the diameter? 10, right? So what's the radius? 5. Okay, so now we know the radius. We know a couple of points on our circle. Now, these points are at 1, 0 and at 1, -6. We do not know that the center is right in the middle of that, because this circle could go like this. It just has to pass through those points. I don't have enough room there. Or it could also go like this. There's actually going to be 2 circles that can meet this requirement of having that radius of 5 and passing through those 2 points. We'll see what we can do with it. All right, so I know this is 1 point it has to pass through. So I'm going to use my formula. Here's my circle formula. Keep doing that over and over. Okay, so let's see. I know x is 1, so I'm going to have 1 minus h squared. I don't know my center. Plus y minus k is 0, so that's just going to give me y minus 0 is just going to be y squared. Has to equal, and my radius is 5, so it must equal 25. So I know that much, right? Okay, now let's think. We've got this point as well. So now we're going to have, let's plug in that point. 1 minus h squared again, plus y minus -6 would be plus 6 squared. And what does that have to equal? 25, right? Now, here comes the tricky part. I can't solve either one of these by themselves because they have 2 variables. Oh, hold on a minute. I meant to use, it's not quite right. Let me change this. I know y, I don't know k. I know y. Maybe some of you caught that as I was going through it. Okay, here we go. This is x, this is y, this is x, this is y. So on the second one, I needed to do y, which was 0 minus k squared. So 0 minus k is negative k. Negative k squared is going to be, this should have been k squared instead of y squared. Okay, same thing here now with the other point. I have to do negative 6 minus k squared. All right. Now we're ready to go. Like I was saying, I've got two variables, h and k. But look at this, guys. Can't I solve this? Like, can I solve this for 25 minus 1 minus h squared? See what I'm talking about? Look, I can take this equation and I can say, if I take this over to the other side, k squared is going to have to be equal to 25 minus 1 minus h squared. Agreed? Look at this equation. If I take this equation, I want to get 25 minus 1 minus h squared. Because if I can say that this equation is equal to that, and this equation is equal to that, then I can set them equal to each other and solve. So look, if I take this equation and I take this over to the other side, I'm going to get negative 6 minus k quantity squared equals 25 minus 1 minus h squared. Isn't that true? I can take that over. I can take that over. Now look what I've got. So I'm saying 25 minus 1 minus h quantity squared equals k squared. And 25 minus 1 minus h squared equal quantity squared equals this. So what has to be true of these two things? They have to be equal to each other, don't they? So if we can solve that, then we can figure out the answer. So let's try it. We're going to have k squared equals negative 6 minus k quantity squared. Now, I could just take the square root of both sides. Let me think ahead. Is that going to work? So I'm going to get a k there, negative 6 minus k. I could take that. Actually, I might be able to solve that. But sometimes that's not going to work. Sometimes what happens is when you take the square root of both sides right now, we just get something that we can't solve anyway. Let's pretend that's going to happen. On this one, you actually could take the square root of both sides. But watch, I'm going to do k squared equals, I'm going to multiply this all out. So I'm going to do negative 6 minus k times negative 6 minus k. K squared equals negative 6 times negative 6 is 36. That's 6k, that's 6k, so I have 12k. Negative k times negative k is plus k squared, right? Well, what am I going to do now to solve this for k? Subtract k squared from both sides. So if I subtract k squared from both sides, I'm going to get 0 equals 36 plus 12k. Need a little room. Let's come up here. So if I want to solve this, I'm going to have to subtract, well, let's subtract here's what I'm going to get. 12k equals negative 36, right? Divide by 12. K equals negative 3. We know what k is. Woohoo. Okay, so we got k. Now we need to know h. So let's see, where can I plug in? Might be easiest to plug in. Right here would be easiest, wouldn't it? I can plug in anywhere. Oh, it might be easy here, actually. It doesn't matter, here or here. I'm going to do here, actually. Okay, so I'm going to plug into this one because it's going to be easier. You got to think ahead on this stuff. So now I'm going to have 1 minus h quantity squared. K is negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9. So, plus 9 equals 25. So I'm going to have 1 minus h quantity squared. Subtract that 9 over, I get 16. Take the square root of both sides. Think ahead, you can do that. Sorry guys, I'm kind of out of room. Let me come way up here. So I'm going to have 1 minus h. If I take the square root of both sides, what do I have to put in front of this? Plus or minus, right? So plus or minus 4. So I know what k is. K has to be negative 3. So that means that I'm down negative 3 with my original picture. Okay, so then I'm going to have 1 minus h has to equal 4. 1 minus h has to equal negative 4. Solve this. H is going to have to be -3 for this one. So one of my points then could be H is -3, K is -3. My other point, if I solve this, that's over there, would be 5. So -3 and 5. Tough problem, right? So my two equations, I got to write the equation still, would be x plus 3 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 25. That's one of them. My other one would be x plus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals 25. Okay, so we got it. We might want to check it on Desmos, just see if it looks right, see if it passes through those points it's supposed to pass through. But yeah, that makes sense, getting those two circles. All right, this is a really tough problem. This is going to be on your worksheet. I think I put one similar to it on there. Let's see, where is it? This will be like number 8. So give it a try. See if you can handle it. Not a huge deal if you can't get through it, but next year when you're in honors pre-calc, this is the kind of stuff you're going to see. It's going to be really rigorous problems, and you can do it. You just got to be persistent. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great day.